Welcome to Ask the Funeral Director with Mike Voyajakis. Brought to you by Voyage Funeral Home and Crematorium. Now, here's your host, Mike Voyajakis. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to this edition of Ask the Funeral Director on this October the 2nd. September is over, time for October, and, well, Halloween right around the corner. And then, well, after that, I guess we'll get into Black Friday, and then we'll hit into Christmas and New Year's, and, well, I like to call it the party months. There's lots to come. We're going to get to a lot on the show tonight. We've got some great videos to talk about. Mike is standing by right here in the studio, and he's going to, have to answer some tough questions tonight. It's going to be a great show. Stay right there. We'll be back with more here on Ask the Funeral Director right after this. At the Cork and Flame, we're always cooking and ready with the finest for all our customers any time of day or night. From breakfast brunch to lunch and dinner, steak and seafood to ribs and more. The Cork and Flame Fine Dining. Always fresh, with fabulous desserts and a narration of the urban landscape, plus a passion for quality food. Eat, drink, chill. Cork and Flame, 3106 Portage Avenue. There's no hurry, so sit back and relax. Well, make it a forgettable night, unforgettable night, not forgettable, unforgettable. How are you tonight, Mike? Are you ready to do this this show tonight, or what? What time is it?
Unforgettable, that's what you are. Another edition of Ask the Funeral Director.
We're in Winnipeg, not Vegas, you know.
Thank you for joining us. Great way to start off the show. May as well sing and enjoy life and have fun and all that kind of stuff.
You guys be glad he's not dancing.
Yeah, lucky I'm not dancing. Sarah says, no sound. Sarah, that's because the show doesn't start until 9 o'clock.
Yeah, I wasn't even on yet.
9 o'clock when the show starts.
We know what's going on. It's okay, Sarah.
Gord, nice to have you on the show. Hello, Mike and Brad from Winnipeg. Terry Thiessen, thank you, Mike and Brad. Hello from Southern Alberta.
Evening, Mike and Brad. Randy Medwood from Toulon, Manitoba is online with us. Good to see you, Randy. Thanks for being here. Good evening, Mike and Brad. The boss is coming. That would be you. You're the boss. You were coming on the show.
Pointing fingers at me.
Cheers from Winnipeg North. Ted Cousy says as well, good evening from Tabor, Alberta. Debbie McKenzie. Great to have you, Debbie. Know that stomping grounds very well. Hello from Cornwall, Ontario.
Leona. Hi, Mike and Brad. Patricia Luke. Hi, Mike and Brad. Al Bueller. Who's Al Bueller?
I never heard of the guy before.
Hey, Al Bueller, we need to fix some things on our set here. Maybe you can come and do some
renovations. Yeah.
Some things are falling over here. Hey, Josh. He says, hey, guys. I can't believe Josh is on the show tonight. Josh, we just can't wait till you come on and you do a phone call. So people can hear your voice.
That's right. Hey, you can call in anytime, Josh. You got my number. Feel free to dial in. We'll put you on the show right now with us. And we can talk about some of the fun things you do around the funeral home, too, because I know your dad puts you in quite the position and role to have to do all kinds of things like cut the lawn.
Cut the lawn. Sherry says, hi, Mike Brad from Ontario. Angela, hi, guys, from Toronto. Wow. Elsie, hi, from Winnipeg. And Mary, hey, Big Al.
Who's Big Al?
Big Al.
Big Al Bueller.
Hi, Mike and Brad from Wayne and Susan Alec and everyone else.
Bueller.
Mary, come on, Josh. We would love to have you on the show.
No, you won't be seeing him. You'll just be hearing him.
Give me a call. I'll fix your set for you.
Yeah, that's right.
So we got a really good show coming up for you tonight. Interesting topics. And we're going to start off the show by doing our first video. And you probably watched it growing up. And you're probably still watching it today. The Simpsons. Oh, Mom's also watching, Josh says. Hey, Sharon.
Simpsons.
Big kiss to you.
I didn't want to be on the screen with you if you're blowing kisses to people. You go ahead and do that all on your own.
What's wrong with that?
Well, my wife watches too. She won't be happy if she thinks I'm blowing kisses. No.
Hello, guys from Shell Valley. Where's Shell Valley?
No idea. It's probably near the beach.
Dimitrios, where's Shell Valley? There's the big question. I was at the Cork and Flame before I came here today, and the Cork and Flame has a chef special. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. You walk in, it's never the same. Whatever the chef wants to have on special is a special. if you haven't been to the Cork and Flame Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, go check out the chef special. It'll surprise you. Always amazing, tastes incredible. I want to push a plug if you're having a Christmas party, you want to have your party catered, it's a special occasion, the Cork and Flame can always host you. There's a free ad for the Cork and Flame. And there goes Brad again. Don't know where he's going now. He's walking away. Oh, look at that. He's turning my microphone.
It actually
Moving it
sounds
closer.
better when you talk into it.
Yeah. Didn't
I
know
thought you
anybody
knew
could hear
about
me.
this sort of stuff. But I got it fixed.
Anyways, now that you moved away, we're going to go to our first video. It's Brad, you're wearing pants.
I am, not like you.
You walked right past me. It's like, oh no, does he have pants on tonight? Dimitrios says between
not
Russell
that kind
and
of
Rockland,
show.
Manitoba.
It's not that kind of show.
This is a Simpson, the videos, The Simpsons, talking about all the things they talk about always did come true. And it kind of makes you go, how do these guys know all that?
Go!
Go.
Are you ready to do this?
Let's do it.
Okay.
First video of the night.
It's almost the perfect soundtrack to go with that, isn't it, Mike?
You just kind of wonder how these guys just know that. I mean, it goes back to way
We're back to 2008 right
yeah,
there alone.
2008,
Like,
and then they go to 2020, and exactly what they predicted comes true. There's also a Simpsons video that has a very famous person in a casket.
oh, yeah. Yeah, yeah. Who is that famous person, though?
She's running for president.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh. That's, I haven't seen that one yet.
No, they've taken it down.
Oh, they take it
numerous
down.
times, Yeah.
Oh.
Josh says they were time travelers.
Oh, they were time traveling. Okay.
I don't know about that, but it's definitely interesting. If anyone could look into the future, which you're not supposed to do, by the way, it's
Why
the
not?
Simpsons.
Wait, what? Wait. Why not?
Would you want to know what's going to happen to you tomorrow? Like if you had to, it's...
Will that black cloud be over me again tomorrow or not? Stay tuned.
I don't know if I had
More
a
in the next episode.
Yep, saw that. See, LOL, Joan says she saw that. So the thing is, if you have a question or if you want to make a comment, the great thing about the show is the comment section. And there's no doubt about it. People have been telling me, all my friends who watch the show, people that call in say, hey, we don't even get a notice when you're on anymore. Are you being censored? Are you being censored because some of the things we're playing and saying? Possibly. So please like, share, and follow the show. You'd be doing us a huge,
The gavel
favor.
come down on this show.
Talking about the gavel, we talk about my brother all the time and how he was murdered earlier this year. Finally, we get a court date set for just a 5-minute appearance where he's going to come on and plead his case to the judge. I guess whether he's innocent or
gonna
guilty.
come on. He's
or
not
whatever
going to
the
be
case.
there in person.
Oh yeah, they're gonna. I don't know if they're going to bring him in person. I don't know if they're going to.
I'd be happy to drag him. I mean, take him there.
I don't know if they're going to do a video presentation, which they're doing now from the jails, or if they're going to actually bring him there in person. I know my brothers and myself would like to see him in person. Not that we're going to cause any trouble or anything, but just saying.
Use the Exorcist TV and go right in.
Kevin says, good evening, everyone. Have you ever tried any of Kevin's products? I mean, you're looking pretty good. He's got all those products. And
Not yet. No, I haven't.
Kevin, you got to give us some products so we can have on the show and we can kind of play with them and try them out and see how they
That's that
how they
silver
work.
stuff.
Yeah, the silver nano whatever.
Yeah.
Hi, everyone. Terrible reception here in Alberta tonight. Nothing like that storm the other day that shut off the power. We were out at the cottage. 3 hours.
3.
No power. Teaches you a lesson. You need a generator these days.
So did you buy a second generator? Because you bought one about a month ago.
I did. Al Bueller. Need to talk more about Al Bueller. Not as if Al likes himself or anything.
He's a star. What a star.
You know, Al Bueller did some work at my house one time, and I walk in the backyard, and he's got no shirt on. He's pretty much working in his underwear, and I go, Al, put some clothes on. Jeez. Linda Shelley, hello. Evening, and I hope the show doesn't get blocked. Love this show. You guys are great. Well, he's great. I'm just Mike.
He's better.
I'm just Mike. Ferdy, good evening, Mike and Brad. Watching from Washington State. It's cool that people watch us from Washington State.
Yeah, absolutely.
We're going to go into another video, and this video is Rebel News, and we're going to hit it. We're going to
there's. How about we talk about this for a second?
Sure.
That a show like Rebel News used to come in like every day on the internet. You'd get it, you'd watch it,
not
you'd
anymore.
see multiple ones. Justin's got us so locked down. I don't know if other people are just blind to this or what. It just blows my mind
Brad,
that nobody's bitching about this.
The only way that you can...
They need more bitching in the kitchen.
I gotta tell you this. If more people did what the Indigenous community did this past weekend, things would not be getting put in place like they're doing.
And it wasn't even just Indigenous people. It was
law
all
and
races.
order. You know, it was lawful. They went out. They did a protest.
Thousands
in
showed
celebration of Orange Shirt Day, or the Indigenous.
It wasn't 300 or 400. It was,
no, it was
thousands.
So if we want to stop things from happening, that's what we need to do. We need to go out in the street like the Indigenous folks did this week. Not only them, but others joined. But in the thousands, I mean, that went on forever, that lineup. And that makes a real powerful points.
Yep.
A very powerful point. So if you want to make change, which we need to do, because this country is going down the wrong back lane, if you know what I mean, and we're heading in the wrong direction, and this is terrible for the future generation. And if we don't make change now, listen, if we don't stop things now, we never will. So if we don't stand up now, when do we?
The things that are being blocked obviously are being blocked for a reason. And more than likely, it's true.
It's true.
They don't like us telling the truth.
When you're telling the truth, they're going to block you. That's why you got to like and share the show. There's no way we're getting the shares and views that we're getting. But it's clear, like I said, people are getting messages, messages.
You could share my show, Wake Up Canada News, over and over and over again right now, and people still wouldn't get to see it. It says blocked in Canada.
Yeah, see? There you go.
There's no way around this. I don't know what to do other than open up another channel with another name and a new broadcast and try that route.
Susie says, I get Rebel News emails.
Oh, yeah. No, you'll get it in your emails. What you can't do is just go on your Facebook timeline and see it posted there anymore. I mean, I subscribe, but they're not bringing that to my Facebook timeline at all anymore. And they used to. I mean...
And you know what? I got to wonder, with all the things that are going on in our world right now, Canada... I mean, police aren't responding to break-ins. They're not responding to a majority of the things that are going out there. And you kind of wonder if they want this chaos in the streets, if they want these young guys loose, breaking into houses, smashing windows, causing chaos. This way they get what they want at the end, and that's us fighting with each other and no law, no order.
Well,
and
Cian, you know Cian?
Huh?
You know Cian? Cohen?
Cohen, yeah.
Cohen?
Yeah.
Cohen? Do you hear what happened to him?
No.
So he was out just yesterday. He went out to sell a cell phone to a guy.
Right. Oh, yes.
They maced him.
And
they robbed him.
And they robbed him, yes. Like, here's a word of advice. I can tell you this as a funeral director and just the guy who involved in a lot. Don't be careful when you're doing these Kijiji deals or a marketplace. When you're going to meet a person, meet in a very public place.
And take somebody else with you.
Take somebody with you, because these people are robbing you, taking your money,
even
taking your
videotape
phones.
it. Have the person that's waiting for you in the car videotaping the whole thing.
It's getting crazy out there. Sue, Brad says you're right. I don't know what you're right about, but I agree with the fact that Linda says Trudeau should be in jail. No doubt about that. Crappy service. We'll watch the replay tomorrow. Sue, you're leaving us?
Just for now. It's all right.
We're going to play this video,
Thank
come
you,
back
Sue.
and talk about it. It is interesting, to say the least.
All right, Rebel News, here it comes. Let's do it.
Well, the Public Health Agency of Canada has just admitted that those with more boosters die at a higher rate than the unvaccinated.
Okay, we'll come back in a second here. Let's start that all over again. Sometimes technical difficulties can happen.
I'll let Brad do his magic while I just read some more of these things. I wonder why they're having crappy service out there. I mean, maybe it's all this weather. So, anyways, yeah, if you are going to meet somebody, make sure you videotape it or come up with some friends. Don't go by yourself in a secluded area and meet somebody. You're going to get robbed.
Okay, we're all set. Here we go.
We're good.
Public Health Agency of Canada has just admitted that those with more boosters die at a higher rate than the unvaccinated.
We're all in this together.
Before Parliament took a summer recess, Conservative MP Kathy Wagenall tabled a question to Parliament requesting clarification on delays in reporting excess mortality data by Statistics Canada, the approval and investigation processes for this data, communication with health authorities and the Prime Minister's office, discrepancies in mortality statistics, the handling of COVID-19 death counts by vaccination status, and directives from the Privy Council office regarding this reporting. While many of her questions went entirely unanswered, the Public Health Agency of Canada did confirm that those with more COVID-19 shots were dying in higher numbers than those without, but says not to confuse this with the fact that more people were getting vaccinated, which they say skewed the data. Let's dig in. Based on cases following vaccination reports on the COVID-19 Epidemiology Update webpage from June 10th to August 28th, 2022, weekly COVID-19 deaths were as follows. Between June 13th to 27th, the average number of weekly deaths reported was 23.3 among unvaccinated cases, 1 among not yet protected cases, 8.3 among partially vaccinated cases, 73.3 among fully vaccinated cases, and 144 among fully vaccinated cases with an additional dose. Between July 4th to 18th, the average number of weekly deaths reported was 13 among unvaccinated cases, 23.5 among fully vaccinated cases, 63 among fully vaccinated cases with an additional dose, and 20 among fully vaccinated with 2 or more additional doses. Between July 25th to August 29th, the average number of weekly deaths reported was 28.7 among unvaccinated cases, 7 among cases with primary series completed, 109.3 among cases with primary series completed and 1 additional dose, and 46.3 among cases with a primary series completed and 2 or more additional doses. That's upwards of 3 to 5-fold differences between the unvaccinated and those having either 2 or more shots across all date categories. The Public Health Agency of Canada confirms this in their order paper question response. Across all weeks in the time period of interest, the number of deaths were highest among those with a primary series and 1 additional dose.
Well, haven't we haven't been saying that for very long, have we? A couple years.
Well, I guess a conspiracy theory is no longer a conspiracy theory. It's the truth.
I was right again.
It's the
Oh,
truth.
gee, wow, how could that possibly be?
So did they say the
I'm
Canadian
such a
Health
liar.
Organization actually said they're admitting that
Yeah.
what's happening?
Yeah,
Well, I can tell you as a funeral director,
I
that
smell lawsuits.
the amount of deaths we're doing due to myocarditis is past the point of talking about.
Yeah, that's
and
right.
the cancers on the rise. We talk about this all the time, but I'll tell you again.
Stillbirth.
If you think the hospitals were full before when they lied to you and told you they were, that was 100% a lie. The hospitals were empty, but now the hospitals are full. We get calls constantly asking us to come and take people into our care because the hospitals are over capacity in their morgues, and I simply tell them they should build more morgues because this is only going to get worse. And with the cold coming and all the predictions of something happening in October, more than likely we're going to be facing some type of lockdown in the future, probably due to monkeypox or whatever the case may be. You see more and more people wearing masks. Everywhere you go now, they're wearing masks. And it's almost like it's a cool thing to do. Hey, Brad, look at me with my mask. Cool, eh?
A lot of people.
It's almost like
back
a
into it
fashion
again.
statement, you
Yeah,
know?
there's no fashion in it at all.
But they
It's
don't
ridiculous.
realize. They don't realize. The more you wear
Ridiculous.
masks, the more you go along with the narrative, the worse it is for you and your family. It
Do
just
not
doesn't just affect
comply.
us.
Do not
Do
comply.
not comply. Like, it's time to wake up and realize, I mean, there's so much fact, so much truth, so much knowledge now, so much wisdom. If you go back and you see that they lied to us during the whole COVID procedure, and now the truth is coming out. And for some reason, even when you hear the truth, you don't believe it. And that is mind-boggling. You hear the truth, but you don't believe it. Fauci straight out says the 6 feet distancing thing, well, I just made that up. the masks. Well, you have to wear 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, no. I just made that up too. Can you not tell that they're lying to you? It's time to wake up. Don't you see all the deaths that are happening?
We want to stay on Facebook. It's safe and effective. We love every second of it. Please make sure you go get your booster shots. And don't forget, it's safe and effective unless you listen to this show.
Brad and I are going to run down and go to the closest shoppers and get our booster shot right now, right after the show.
I got a patch for it. It's called Chiquita.
Sakita patch. Somebody said, hey, why aren't you on Rumble? We are on Rumble. We're on Rumble. We're on YouTube. We're on Twitch. We're on X. And we're on Facebook. Mavis says, I will never comply with those insane forced government. No kidding. That's what it is. It's insane force. But you heard what happened. So the UN now can come into your house, pull you out of your house.
Well, almost. There's a third reading that has to happen.
There's a third reading. But I mean, this is what I mean about standing up. This is what I mean about making a difference.
You pass once, you pass twice, you're going to pass the third time, it's coming.
But this is what I'm saying. This is where what happened in the street this past weekend should be happening right across Canada.
Yep.
People should be going out to the
every
streets
weekend.
Every weekend. In the thousands, saying we will not comply. This is not going to take place. Taking away your freedom of speech and your freedom of rights, coming into your house, pulling you out of your house, and vaccinating you or throwing you in jail or doing whatever they want. This is communism at its best.
Do you remember during COVID in China when they pulled the dogs out of the house? They slaughtered the dogs on the street in front of the house. They killed their pets all over COVID, claiming that COVID was going to ruin, the dogs were going to ruin it all. And it's just ridiculous.
This next video is an interesting video because it's one of the hottest topics out there. It's about MAID. Watch this. It'll be very educational on what they're trying to do now and how people are finally challenging MAID, just like we should be challenging the Trudeau government.
A group of disability rights advocates is taking the government to court, launching a charter challenge, arguing what's known as Track 2 of the MAID law has resulted in premature deaths. Well, my next guest is part of the coalition launching this challenge. Krista Carr is the Executive Vice President of Inclusion Canada, and she joins us tonight from Toronto. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
So why have you chosen to be part of this coalition launching the charter challenge?
Because we expanded Canada's MAID law in 2021 to another track completely, to include people with disabilities who are not at the end of their lives, who are not otherwise dying. We have singled out one particular charter protected group of people for state-funded suicide when they are not terminally ill and not otherwise dying, and it has caused and is causing people with disabilities great harm, and many have already died when they did not want to be dying.
Okay, so let's get into a bit of the finer details here. In your opinion, how does Canada's assisted dying laws, how do they violate the Charter?
Well, we have Track 1 MAID, which is not what we are challenging in our Charter Challenge, and it is the track that is available to anybody who's got a terminal illness, whose death is reasonably foreseeable, and who is suffering intolerably. But Track 2 MAID singles out one group of people, just people with a disability, and says that your life is not actually worth protecting or saving or even living, because when you are suffering intolerably, and we know that people with disabilities tell us over and over and over again that their intolerable suffering is not caused by their disability, it's caused by the hugely high rates of poverty they face, housing problems, lack of disability-related supports, institutionalization, social isolation, discrimination in society. That's what causes people with disabilities intolerable suffering. And rather than addressing those issues and giving people an equal right to live on an equal basis with others and have a good quality of life, we are instead offering them government-funded medical treatment in the form of a lethal injection that ends their lives, when what they're really seeking is support to live a good life in community.
I think you would agree that, the community of people with disabilities is not monolithic. What would you say to those that are within that community that may have a different opinion than you, that want this option?
I think very often people with disabilities that say they want this option, what we hear, and we're 4 different disability organizations and 2 plaintiffs who themselves have a disability, is that people are constantly seeking and trying to get the support they need, and they're not getting it. And that is why some would want this option available. And so we say, the government has said, well, we're giving people their autonomy of choice, their autonomy rights. Well, what I can tell you is there's no autonomy and no autonomous choice when you're living in terrible conditions and you're being denied the supports you need to live and you're homeless or whatever the case may potentially be. And we're only singling out this special and fast track to death for one particular group of people who happen to be among the most marginalized in our society. And we're calling it an autonomous choice when it's really actually not a real choice. And we put limits on autonomy for people all the time. Government limits us when we want to drive recklessly on the roads or drink and drive or assault someone and cause bodily harm. Those things are against the law for a reason, because they are harmful. They're harmful to others. And what this particular track of medical assistance in dying has done has made it almost impossible for people to be safely interacting, people with disabilities to safely interact with the medical system, because we hear story after story after story about how they're being offered, suggested medical assistance in dying. As a matter of fact, today in our press conference, Heather Walkus, who's a woman with 2 disabilities, who's the chair of the Council of Canadians with Disabilities, one of our partners in this, was telling a story about how she fell out of a taxi. She uses a wheelchair, she's blind. She fell out of a taxi and bruised her hip, went to a physiotherapist for support, and ended up being asked if she had considered MAID. Now, none of the rest of us would ever go to a physiotherapist for a bruised hip and be asked if we considered state-assisted death.
So ultimately, last question here, what do you want to see come out of this charter challenge? What is the outcome that you ultimately want here?
Well, we're challenging Track 2, medical assistance in dying, under Section 7 and Section 15 of the Charter of Rights and Freedoms, and say that it violates those rights. We want it declared unconstitutional. So essentially what we're asking the court to do is to repeal Track 2 MAID, not the regular track for people who are terminally ill, but Track 2 MAID, and strike it from the law altogether.
Krista, appreciate your time and your perspective here on Canada Tonight. That is Krista Carr, who is the Executive Vice President of Inclusion Canada.
Sure happy that somebody's talking about it and trying to stop things and make things be right instead of wrong.
See, Brad, that's what I'm talking about, is making a difference. And at least they're going to make a difference. I want to share a story with you about MAID, and it's actually devastating. So a person I've been talking to in this last little while, the daughter has decided to take the MAID program because they talked her into it. And they told her it would be a better choice to have her life taken than be here suffering with mental illness. Now, the crazy thing about this is the father is totally against his daughter going into this MAID program and MAID taking her life.
I would be too.
100%, I would be too. He's furious. But here's the thing. Even a father doesn't have the right to overcome the decision of a daughter. As long as she's mentally sane and can make that decision and sign that form saying that she's wanting to take her life, they will go through with the MAID program. And his father is devastated, saying, I could take care of my daughter. I will provide for my daughter. There's no way you're going to kill my daughter. This is suicide. What you're doing is killing my daughter. And I feel so bad for this guy as he sits back and waits for that date to come. And it's a simple date.
I can't believe his daughter is putting him through this.
The daughter's putting the father through this because I think she's been almost brainwashed to believe that MAID is the solution to her problem. but our lives aren't ours to take. And in my opinion,
That's where God steps in.
the God steps in, right? I mean, MAID is somebody's taking your life. Is there a difference between the electric chair or somebody hanging?
Same thing.
When they flick a button,
somebody's
and all of a
taking
sudden
your life.
They're taking your life.
I shoot you, I'm taking your life.
Taking my life. So I mean, it's somebody taking your life, and you got to wonder the people that are actually doing the injections, all the things that happen during the MAID program. How do they feel? Do they feel good? Are they convinced themselves that they're actually helping a person by ending their life? Like, I understand, as a funeral director, there's some situations where a person is in devastating pain. I understand that. Where they got stage 4 cancer, no medication, no drugs, nothing will help them, and the pain is so devastating that they can't live minute to minute.
You know it's a right and a wrong to this all, and that's where the line needs to be drawn in the sand. But it's so controversial. It's no different than abortion.
Let's talk about what's happening next. So now they're talking about people that are struggling with mental illness,
Right.
or some kind of disability. How about when they want to take our children away from us? When a 15-year-old can walk in and say, "I don't want to live anymore. I'm not enjoying life," and they'll take the child's life without parents' permission.
I didn't want a medical sex transition, and now I want to take my life now. I mean, you know what
But that's
I mean?
where it's getting to. The MAID program is way out of control, in my opinion. And as a funeral director, we do a lot of people that come through us and use the MAID program. But that's our jobs as funeral directors, not having an opinion towards that family and doing whatever.
Have suicide rates gone down?
Suicide rates are through the roof, buddy. And you know what? If they do another lockdown,
So why aren't they going to MAID then?
I remember telling, because they're not accepting that yet. But that's coming next. The next part of MAID is people with mental illness. And this was phase 2, as they said. Track 2. Track 3 is people with mental illness will be able to walk in and say, oh, they don't want to live anymore. They're struggling with mental illness. It's too much for them. And they want MAID to take their life.
Right.
So is there a difference between somebody going home and committing suicide, the act of suicide in their basement or in their house, or having these people inject you 3 times and take your life?
Does my family still get insurance if I go through the MAID program?
That's
Because
a
they
good question.
don't if
I don't
commit
think
suicide.
so. I know in the when you get an insurance policy, there's clauses in there. So more than likely,
Protect.
if you
right?
get the MAID program, I don't think your family is going to be getting anything other than a lack of Brad.
Well,
And you know what?
I'm not doing that shit.
There's been veterans who are on the streets, who've lost their legs in war. And I could show you videos of this. And what do? They offer the veteran the MAID program, saying, there's a solution to your problem. Sure, I went and fought for my country. I lost my legs or my arms, and now you're giving me the solution to die. Well, I could have died back there where I fought, but no. I came back to be with my family and friends, hoping to get a little love. Yeah. But instead I'm getting, sign here, and it's all over. You don't have to go through any more pain.
You know, Linda Shaw says, we just got back from vacation and meeting people from U.S. and UK. They're all shocked at what's going on here in Canada and how Canadians are putting up with it. COVID is only here, apparently. I'm so done with this BS.
It's, you know what, Brad, it's true. People across the world are talking about Canada. And I think the only person who's mentally ill in Canada is Trudeau. Something's wrong with that guy. Something is wrong with that guy. The decisions that he's making, direction that he's taking, the direction he's taking the world into, the direction he's taking our children into, the direction he's taking the elderly into.
Yeah, one too many Diddy parties for that guy, huh?
Yeah, I think,
what, too soon?
I think, when, there's no doubt about it, his mom partied when she was young and was doing a little bit of this. And I think maybe
it was Colombia.
Maybe it shrunk the brain just a little bit.
It was Colombia. What's the biggest product out of Colombia?
You figure we would have learned a lesson by having his dad as prime minister all those years, and then we elect his son.
I know, right? Well, how?
Wait,
is that the best we got? Really?
Angela says, I wonder what the minister thinks of MAID. Do these people who use MAID go to heaven? Well, you know what? We'll have to ask that question to...
I was going to say, I'm not a priest. I can't answer that.
I can't answer that question either, and I can't judge what somebody does because There is an ultimate judge, and it's not me.
Hey, speaking of questions that we're going to ask, we should probably get to some of our questions
Let's do that.
tonight and ask them. So let's go to question number 1. This one here is coming from Suzanne. She says, I know of a family that is struggling to the point they can't put food on their table. We're sorry to hear that. There's actually lots of families like that, unfortunately, here in Manitoba and across this great country who have been visiting the food banks. Again, over 1 million in Toronto alone. Tom has stage 4 cancer, causing the family to spend all of the savings they had put aside. His wife is no longer employed, and they have 3 small children. What can I do to help them, as they have been very private about their situation?
Wow, Suzanne, that is a loaded question.
That's a tough
and,
question. Yeah.
It almost puts tears in my eyes to know that a Canadian family is going through that. As I hate to say this, but people that are immigrating to Canada get a free ride. Nothing wrong with immigration. I've said that before, but it's being done the wrong way. So how can you help this poor family? Be kind, be courteous, phone them, ask if there's anything that you could do for them. Maybe take turns dropping off food at the house and maybe helping take their kids to school. It takes a community to deal with a problem like this. This can't be solved by one person. It can be solved by the government by helping pay for expensive medications that are involved when you're going through stage 4 cancer to try and save your life. And this is the killer. Some people want to live so they can raise their families and their 3 little children that this gentleman has. And he would do anything to live, yet others are giving their life to MAID. It's heartbreaking. Suzanne, off the record, if you can, please call me after the show or tomorrow at the funeral home, and I will personally give a gift certificate to this family for a fair amount of money where they can go to Sobeys and buy groceries and not have to have that burden of not having food on their table. No family should ever have to do that. But as a community, and maybe a church-based community, we could find out who this family is. We could pray for them. We can do our best to help them get through this, because you need a community to get through something like they're going through. To have 3 kids, no job, fighting cancer, facing death, I will be more than happy to help in any way that I can, and I'm sure a lot of our viewers would do the same. That's heartbreaking, because this can happen to you and I tomorrow, and the government's not there to help you.
Yeah, I'm sick of seeing Zelensky in our country with his handout every other week.
If you owe money to Revenue Canada, they're going to go to your bank account and seize it. Whether you're going through cancer, whether you're going through heart disease, it doesn't matter. There's no mercy. But it's frustrating to talk about that again, where they're bringing in these immigrants that are getting a free ride. They're getting $8,000 each one that comes in. They're getting a place to stay.
We went through the
food on
money
their
last
table.
week on
And
the
we went
show,
through this
and-
last week, and all I could do for a family like that is reach out and help. So please, Suzanne, if you know who the family is, just give me their phone number or maybe even their address, and we could do something to help them and make life just a little bit easier for them. I have a lot of connections in a lot of different fields, and I will send an army out, a team of a lot of people to help this family in any possible way that I can. And I'm honestly, sincerely telling you that from my heart.
There's lots of other organizations out there who collect all kinds of money throughout the year that are more than happy to help locals. You can take a look at that as well.
And there's a lot of business people who will reach out in a business community. That's why our small business community is so important.
Dave Corby, your comment is 100%. I stand by you.
That's why our business community in Manitoba is so important to small businesses. That, by the way, the city of Winnipeg, province of Manitoba, is putting these businesses through hell. And if there's going to be another lockdown, we're going to lose more of our precious businesses. Small business is what keeps the wheel turning. You need to know that. It's important. Small business is the one that employs the mom, the part-time mom.
You can have 1 location or 5.
The kids who go through school.
It's all important.
It's all important. Anyways, so I can answer that to the best of my ability. We'll go into the next question.
All right, number 2 comes from Kim. She says, I still can't bring myself to do anything with my son's ashes yet. I want to spread them in one of his favorite fishing spots, but I'm just not ready. Is this normal?
So, Kim, that's very normal. When you lose a son and you're going through those trials and tribulations in your heart and in your brain and all the things that you're facing when you lose a son or a child, there's no right time to scatter cremated remains. There's no right time to put cremains in cemeteries. Just take your time, And when your heart tells you that it's time to do the right thing, then you'll do it. Until then, keep the cremated remains at home. You could bring them to the funeral home if you feel uncomfortable with them at home. We'll hold them for you in a safe place. And then when you're ready to scatter those cremated remains, we can help you. So it's totally normal to think like that. Don't ever think or be forced in your mind to think what other people think. Oh, she hasn't scattered those cremated remains. What a bad person. No. It could take years. Grief takes years. And scattering cremated remains is a huge step in your life. So take your time and do it when your heart tells you you're ready to do it.
Hey, Mike, John McMorrin says in the comments, most food banks only give you enough food for maybe 3 days, and you can only go twice a month. Does that sound right? Is that true?
Probably true. I mean, even the food banks are tightening up. I remember years ago I took a tour of a food bank.
Right.
And what a great organization they were. And I can't remember the name of them off the top of my head, but incredible what they did for families and how many families they feed. And it's so important that if you can give to a food bank, do your research, check on that food bank, make sure that the food is going to hungry people. But what an incredible gesture to make sure that people have food on their tables. That's one thing we all deserve. We all deserve to live. We all deserve our freedom of rights, our freedom of speech, to have food on our tables and a roof over our head.
We do things like that with our hockey team when we go out and take food to local individuals around Christmas
Absolutely.
that need it, and bring the hampers from the Winnipeg Food Bank to them, and give a little bit of volunteer there with our whole hockey team. And this is U15 kids, and it's great to show them that the gift of giving can come from a lot of different ways. And there's a lot of people out there that are ready to support. You just gotta.
And there's a lot of people
get
willing
involved.
to give. There's a lot of people willing to give. And if it's for the right reason, people are willing to open up their pockets and their hearts and help. Yeah. And that's the bottom line. So just reach out. And yes, the food banks are struggling, and I'm sure they're not getting. I mean, people are going through a tough time right now.
Yeah,
Canadians are going through a tough time.
It's not easy. All right, Kathy wants to know here in question number 3, if forensic investigators want to retrieve buried cremated remains, could they get DNA from the remains? Actually, I turned the mic off when I did that.
Oh,
so
my God, you
nobody
sneezed
hears.
all over your mic. You need to clean it?
Right. Yeah, I'm going to go need to do that. Could they get DNA from the remains like they can from a non-cremated body? Asking for a friend.
Yeah, Kathy. So that's a good question. Brad, go up a bit on.
Yeah. No. Go what?
No.
Go up a bit. I got you.
There we go. So could you get cremated remains from? So when remains are cremated, the process occurs at extremely high temperatures, between 1400 and 1600 Fahrenheit, sometimes 1800, which typically destroys forensic investigation evidence such as DNA, organic material. So usually you cannot get DNA from a body that's been cremated just because of the process it's already gone through. So the heat really, what it does is it breaks down the bone tissue to the point where the DNA is too delicate to complete the process of getting DNA results from it. And simply, if the body's been buried and the body's been embalmed, you could get DNA from that body still. So as long as it's not cremated, DNA is accessible from a body that's been buried but not cremated.
In contrast, when non-cremated remains are buried, DNA can often be recovered, even depending on factors like time, environmental conditions, and how well the body is preserved, I assume.
That's true.
So if remains have been cremated and buried, Mike, forensic investigators would be unlikely to recover any DNA, unlike with non-cremated remains.
That's correct.
However, in some cases where partial or incomplete cremation has occurred, I guess it's possible that some DNA might remain in less exposed areas. Does that sound right?
We get a lot of people coming in and saying, "Oh, can we get DNA from those cremated remains?" And the answer is absolutely not. DNA is not going to be available for you. Like I said, if the body's not cremated, before cremation, you could definitely get DNA.
That's interesting. So you almost have to have a piece of skin, hair, tissue.
Exactly, nails, whatever the case may be. I mean, the heat process during cremation obviously disintegrates the whole body. So
Right.
that just gives you the answer that you need.
And you're not going to get the answer that you need from the answer that you get, right? Obviously. Okay, question number 4. This one looks like it's coming from Sophie. She says, I have a question. Is there a way to preserve our unvaxxed DNA before being cremated?
So yeah, if you're looking to preserve your DNA prior to cremation, there are several methods you could use to ensure that the genetic material remains. For example, go up there, Brad.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Sorry.
So here's the option. So basically what you have is you can have nail samples, hair samples, blood samples. So you need some type of sample from the human body for DNA banking. So that's basically what you need in order to do that. Otherwise, it doesn't work.
So the bank is where they're going to store the DNA. Is that right?
Correct.
And then that's used in future use or what?
So you could use it for future use. You could use it for forensic reasons, whatever the case may be. So a lot of people want DNA for a lot of reasons. Are you my dad?
Have you...
You passed away, and we've had people come into the funeral home asking us to, cut hair, clip nails, do things like that because they want to do DNA research on someone. What are you doing now, Brad? Last week you mentioned about how much time for a body to decay. I cannot stop thinking of my parents as skeletons. I'm not trying to be disrespectful. So basically, that's what happens, Mary Lou. When somebody dies, to be absent from the body is to be present with the Lord. So really what that means is the body is just a shell. And the Bible talks about our body being earthly tents. So we put our bodies away and we move on and we're given a new body in that new home that we go to.
So I wanted to quickly bring this up because this is the company that I was going to mention called Clonaid. This is where the DNA comes in, doesn't
That's
it?
right. Yep.
And so if I take my DNA to Clonaid, Clonaid actually can create a clone of me.
They can.
They create clones of animals at this point.
If you move that
as
up
well.
slowly, Brad, as
Yeah.
I'm trying to read it. So basically what you need is hair follicles with roots, fingernails that can contain DNA through quality and an amount of the fingernail that you take.
Right.
So basically you need samples of something to take
like
to this company.
Blood or saliva or
Blood, saliva,
hair.
and then that's the only way you could get DNA.
Have you ever had your DNA taken?
I haven't.
I have, for a court case.
You have?
Yeah, I had a police officer come to the house and take my DNA.
Were you a criminal at one time?
No. We were actually proving that it was my vehicle and that there was a criminal in the vehicle who had stolen it. And the way to do that was to separate our DNA so that they could find a hair follicle in the vehicle proving that he was the guy that was in the vehicle and stole it. So
it's crazy how policing works right now.
Right.
So policing is not your normal policing like it used to be. They do a lot of stuff through DNA. They do a lot of stuff through video surveillance. There's a whole different way of policing these days.
But this DNA, it does degrade, I assume, over the course of time, wouldn't it?
Well, DNA bank would keep your DNA for as long as you need it. I mean, it's preserved.
It's property preserved, I guess.
That's right.
Yeah, okay.
So it's property preserved, meaning that it's going to be there for. And there's biobanks, right?
Yeah.
And some organizations and medical institutions offer tissue samples, all kinds of things. So, there's people
to
out there
research
that do this.
go after personal preservation. I mean, maybe make age-reversing health a little bit more up in the
And that's
open.
what they're talking about now, right? Try to slow down aging, trying to slow down when you're going to die. But I just don't think as human beings we have the power.
Do you need to
do
live
that.
forever? Do you want
Do
to
you
live
need to live forever? Would you want to live forever? The question is, would you want to live forever? If you had a choice and you can live forever, would you want to? And grow old, maybe in your hundreds, to being sick, not being able to move around, maybe losing a leg, maybe having heart disease, maybe having cancer, but not being able to die because you chose to live forever. So it's a real legit question. Would you want to live forever? I would have to say no.
Death Becomes Her.
Death becomes.
Do you remember that show?
No.
That movie?
No.
Oh, that had Bruce Willis in it.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It was a great movie. Death Becomes Her.
I think death is something that we need to face because sometimes you just don't want to live anymore. There comes that time where you're sick and you're tired and you've had enough. Enough's enough. and it's time to go up and be with your maker.
What does healthy really look like this day and age, right?
Susie says, "No thanks. You want to stay in a
Effed up
world,
yeah.
in a order in this court."
Okay, number 4, private DNA storage companies like Clonade. They're companies that specifically offer long-term DNA storage services. They collect samples of your DNA. They usually
They could just
do
come
that
and do
from
a swab.
cheek swab or
Yeah.
a blood sample and preserve it in a stable condition for many years. But by using one of these methods, you can ensure that DNA is preserved for a long time before any cremation takes place. But if you're specifically interested in preserving unvaccinated DNA, wouldn't you need to store your sample before any medical procedures or interventions that might alter your genetic profile or expression of certain genes?
Well, I think if you want to do that swab and have your DNA put aside, it would have to be before you're vaccinated.
Yeah.
Otherwise, if you're vaccinated, it's obviously going to show up in your DNA with all the things that they're talking about these vaccines and, the harm they've done and what they've left behind. Obviously, you want to get your DNA swabbed prior to.
Clonade right here, they said that it was a conspiracy theory. They've made movies about cloning, and everybody goes, oh, no, that's not happening. That's just a lie, a bunch of BS, right? Well, guess what? These guys are in Vancouver, Canada.
Yeah.
This company right here.
Yeah.
And they're also in San Diego or San Jose, somewhere in the States there in California, because you can get away with anything in California under Gavin Newsom.
Greg says, can a body move in a coffin?
Well, sure it can. Just depends if you did it.
Listen,
If I wiggle a coffin,
I want to let
or
you know
shake the
something,
coffin.
Greg. When a body is deceased, it's gone. There's nothing in that body that's going to make the body move or lift or an arm come up or whatever the case may be. I hear stories all the time. People always say, hey, Mike, has a body ever sat up? Has an arm ever moved? Has somebody ever coughed or did anything crazy like that? No. Once a body is dead, it's dead. You get gas from a body sometimes, like groaning and moaning and farting and
Oh,
just like,
really? So if you're cremated, none of the DNA in your body would survive the process. The advanced preservation is the only way to ensure your DNA remains intact, I assume.
correct.
Okay, moving on to question number 5. Let's get there, and I don't know who wrote this one, but let's just read it anyway. What happens to unclaimed bodies, Mike?
So unclaimed bodies at the morgue are generally handed over according to local laws and regulations.
But the process tends to follow what?
So identification and notification. So first thing they try to do with an unclaimed body is to try and identify that body. And the reason they do that is to attempt to identify the body in order to get a hold of family members. And what they do is search for personal records, contacting relatives. They might try and track them down, potential family members who have the authority to maybe do the cremation or authorize a burial. So that's the first thing they do when they do that. And then there's a lot of ways of doing it. Again, DNA, dental records, fingerprints. That's how they identify a person who's a John Doe. So then there's also a holding period. And that holding period is, in every jurisdiction, it's a little bit different. Most jurisdictions have a legal mandated period during which a body must be held before they consider it an unclaimed body.
How long is that?
The time frame would range from days to several weeks, even months, depending on the local authorities and regulations that they have in place.
So there's standard operating procedures that kind of govern it all, right?
Correct.
Now, during this period, the efforts to find family members
So that's the
or
biggest
contacts,
thing. The
that
time is to
continues,
find
right?
a body. And of course, disposition of the body. What are we going to do with the body? So it's an unclaimed body, and people always ask, what happens to unclaimed bodies? Are they cremated? Are they buried? Unclaimed bodies, after a period of time, are either are cremated, buried,
Right.
or donated to science.
And what, the government takes action
so
there?
the government
or-
takes action and does that. So that's what they do with unclaimed bodies. And there's, if you heard in Toronto recently, the unclaimed bodies are piling up in the thousands, right across Canada, because people are just saying, well, we don't want to pay the bill. And you're not responsible for your loved one's bill. So a lot of people are saying, we'll just step away and let the government step in and pay for the bill. Is that wrong? I think it's wrong. I think it's brutal if you can't take care of your loved one at the end and you're walking away. So basically, if cremation isn't possible or isn't allowed due to religious reasons,
What a great way to get back at JT.
burial.
Less money for Zelensky and more for me. Even when I'm dead, I got you. Give me my money back.
So that's what happens with unclaimed bodies. A lot of times, holding period, and then usually afterwards they'll go to a mass grave, unmarked grave where the body will rest. If the body's buried, it might be in a basic container in
Yeah.
a grave that's unmarked where hundreds of other peoples are in that same grave. And then, of course, you have to worry about future claims. A family coming out afterwards and saying, "Well, that's my loved one. Why didn't you contact me? I have a right to make a decision whether my loved one's buried or cremated." So there's so many things that happen. So when they're dealing with unclaimed bodies, there's lots of rules and regulations in place that they need to follow so they don't make a mistake.
Okay.
Mary says whoever signs at the funeral home is responsible for paying for the funeral expenses, and that is 100% correct.
So can I do it like that lady did at the bank? Bring my dead guy with me and get him to sign?
Do you remember that?
Yeah, I remember that.
We did a video one time where she brought a deceased person in a wheelchair, made him look like he was alive, and helped him sign the paper. Well,
For a loan.
quite
a
clear,
bank loan.
He was dead, and it was a fraudulent act. She got arrested afterwards and charged.
I can't blame the police for that one or the bank. Donation to science. What about that?
So not all bodies that you donate to science are accepted.
Oh.
There's certain conditions they have. So a lot of people come into the funeral home and they go, "Well, I don't need to make arrangements. I donated my body to science." They're going to take care of the final arrangements such as cremation or burial.
Nobody's taking you. What's that?
I got bad breath?
No, you're
I thought
good.
it was you.
It is. It's okay. In some regions, if a body remains unclaimed, it may be donated to medical school. May be donated, but then they don't use it, you just said, right?
So medical school is different than science.
Oh, okay.
So medical school
Wait a minute. Now, what is that? What kind of hypocrisy is
medical
that?
school is where students
Medical
practice
school is
on,
not science. Yes, it is.
Medical schools where students practice on bodies, so they get the experience of working with the body. And science is where they're removing hearts and removing lungs and doing their research. And geez, good night, everyone. Stay
Are you
real.
going to bed now?
No.
Oh,
Greg is. Good night,
Greg.
Greg.
Okay, good night, Greg. It's like the guy who gets up at the comedian. We should be heckling him hard right now.
That's funny. What's the next question there, Brad?
The next question. Question number 6 we're only on, and there's like 12 or something you laid out here today. How long are we going for? Are we going for till midnight?
No, we're probably gonna cut it short after a few.
Okay. Where does one sell an urn they used but no longer need or want after the cremains were sprinkled? Can you sell back the urn to your funeral home, Mike?
So here's what we do.
Remedy
so we
wants
won't, Remedy. We don't take back used urns.
Why not?
We can't sell somebody a used
not
urn.
dirty.
Hey, Brad, I'm going to sell you this urn, but
Wash it out.
Mr. X was in here prior to that.
Wash it out.
A lot of families wouldn't be cool with that. So what we do is when people bring back an urn to the funeral home, and a lot of families do, they say, "Well, I'm done with Dad's urn. We don't know what to do with it. We don't want to throw it away. It has sentimental value." What we say is, let us donate this urn to a family in need. So we take that urn. A family comes in on social assistance. They don't have a lot of money. They're struggling. They can't afford an urn. So we say, we have an urn that we can donate to you, and this is from Mr. X's family.
So yeah.
So Mr. X's family has donated this urn to a family to help them in their time of need. So if you have an urn that you're not using, you don't know what to do with it, you scattered cremated remains, and now you're stuck with this urn, you could donate it to your local funeral home. Make sure they're not selling it and making money off it. They shouldn't be doing that. Ask them to donate it to a family in need. See, Heather, who's been watching the show for a long, long time, says, I couldn't find you guys till now. So if you don't think we're being censored, that says it all. Heather's been watching the show since day one. So please do us a favor. We love you guys. Please like, share, and follow the show. Help us get it out to more people.
Yeah, we're all over.
Don't let Facebook and all these people censor us and stop us from telling the truth to people, educating people so they don't get ripped off.
YouTube, Rumble, Twitch, Facebook, and X. And X. 5 of them. 5.
So we're everywhere, but
we're everywhere.
A lot of people say they can't find us. So we're going to take maybe 2 more questions, and then we're Nikki Sunshine says, love your show.
Thanks, Nikki.
Thanks, Nikki. We love you too.
All right, Mike, not sure if this was asked yet. Donna wants to know. She says, can my cremations be scattered on my parents' graves? Or do you have to call a funeral or the cemetery and make sure that they're going to charge you 10 grand?
That is a tricky question. You
Why?
just can't go to a cemetery in Winnipeg, for example, and scatter on somebody's grave. You would get charged for doing that.
What are you going to
It's
charge
illegal
me?
to do that.
What are you going to charge me? Are you the cop that's
It's
going to write the
under-
ticket?
under the
Who's going to
cemetery-
write the ticket, Mike? Come on now.
Under the Cemeteries Act, you can't do that. So
Oh,
if you're going to
okay.
scatter, in Winnipeg on a cemetery, make sure you go to that cemetery, talk to the cemetery staff,
I was outside the fence.
and make sure you get permission to scatter before you scatter, because you could get yourself in trouble. Now, a lot of the small towns say, yeah, go ahead and scatter on
Come on
grandpas
out.
or grandmas. Just do it. But unfortunately, cemeteries in Manitoba, lots of them, are all about this. You see it? It's called money.
Is that what you guys call it?
Call it money. I'm not involved in the cemetery business, Brad. So I don't take people's money. As a matter of fact, we do a lot of good for families. We're here to help. We're here to care. We're compassionate. We're understanding.
There you go.
And we're here when you need us most.
We know that. Okay, question number 8. I want to be cremated. Daughter doesn't want my ashes. I don't know where to go or what to do. It's stressing me out, Jamie says.
Jamie, another question we get all the time. So, and it does stress people out because they're facing death. They know their body is going to be cremated, but nobody wants their cremated remains.
Stand me in the corner over there and leave me.
And then they're going, what am I going to do with my cremated remains? Like, help me. My daughter doesn't want them. Nobody wants them. But it was my body that I lived in all my life, and I want to do something that has some type of value to it, to say that I existed in this world. Well, if nobody wants to scatter your cremated remains, and you're kind of stuck with that scenario where you're going, what do I do? Let us give you peace of mind. Bring the cremated remains down to the funeral home. We'll scatter them for free for you. We'll follow through your wishes as long as it's in Winnipeg or surrounding areas, somewhere close. We'll scatter those cremated remains for you at no charge to your family, just to help you, to give you peace of mind so you can go on living, knowing that your wishes will be followed through right till the end.
Take care of your loved
That's
one.
if you're using our funeral home, of
Take
course.
care of your loved one.
Yeah,
That's
take
the
care of your
bottom
loved
line.
one. I think it's very
Disrespectful.
disrespectful to just toss your loved one's cremated remains somewhere where, or not pick them up. Like, we have probably over 100 sets of cremated remains that are sitting at the funeral home where families have not picked them up ever. Hey, read that. Guardian Angel
All
sent
right.
something.
Excellent show. I wonder if you guys can let people know it is okay that they fell for the scare tactics and to come together now to stop all this bad, evil stuff. Do we want to go out by humans going extinct, or do we want to make sure that specific humans maybe take a back seat to everything else that the world has to offer? Because there are individuals out there, and you know what they say, humans have an instinct that when being killed, they will flip the script and they will turn that on and do what they have to do to defend themselves. And that can cause, well, all kinds of damage.
So we're talking about scare tactics here.
That's right.
Scare. Did you just give people scare tactics?
No, not at all.
There's a lot of funeral homes out there that put a lot of pressure on families, and that pressure makes a family break and spend a lot of money that's not needed to be spent, and a lot of families have to struggle later. What I tell people is, you've lost a loved one, but you got to continue living. And in order to do that, you need money. So why spend money foolishly? Don't let salespeople take advantage of you. Shows like this will educate you today for peace of mind tomorrow. There's
lots of-
families that get ripped off every day of the week. They walk into a funeral home thinking, I've never done this before. Obviously, this guy is going to be honest and he's going to take me through this because it's a compassionate industry. Wrong. That's not what happens at all funeral homes. You walk in, you get taken advantage of, you get lied to, you get sold things you don't need, you get told that you have to embalm the body prior to cremation, you have to buy a casket for cremation, you have to view the body, it's mandatory. All that is lies. I could go on forever telling you how many lies, how many gimmicks, and how much wrong goes on in funeral service and how you get taken advantage of every day of the week. And I say this again, I wish Marketplace would go out and do another investigation on funeral service.
That's what I was going to bring up, is that if you don't take Mike's word for it and you've got more questions, go online, type that in at Marketplace, go to funerals. You'll see for yourself that these individuals are doing exactly what Mike is discussing. They're doing everything in their power to, well, make that quid.
Hey,
the Quan.
Chris Voyajakis is saying something. That's my nephew.
Your nephew.
What do you do with cremated remains if a family doesn't pick them up? Spread them without asking, or do you legally have to hold on to them for a time period? So we have to hold on to cremated remains for a time period. We just can't go scatter somebody without that 2-year holding period that we are legally obligated to hold those cremated remains without doing anything other than keeping them in storage.
Okay, Samantha wants to know, what if a family decides they want an autopsy, Mike? Is it still possible to do an autopsy?
What? What if a family decides they want an autopsy after a body has been embalmed? Oh,
Yeah.
so move up on that one just a bit for me.
Okay, yeah.
And so if a family decides they want an autopsy after a body has been embalmed, it is still possible. So how do they do that? To perform an autopsy, a body could be embalmed. It's more difficult to do it once an autopsy is done.
Yeah.
And the embalming takes place.
Right.
It's really difficult to do anything further
Okay.
because the body's been embalmed, it's been autopsied, and usually that pretty much puts everything to an end right there.
Does embalming stiffen a body up?
It does. So basically what it does is you're placing chemicals in the body.
Yeah.
So those chemicals are replacing the blood to preserve the body from the time of death to the time of the funeral service. So that's really the reason you're...
Oh, it's just a short time.
Just a short time. You could preserve... So let's just say we're to send somebody to Greece tomorrow. We know that we're going to have to preserve that body long term to send that body to Greece because it's going to be on an airplane, it's going to be sitting in an airport, and all kinds of things. So impact of embalming. Embalming involves injection of preservatives, chemicals like formaldehyde, into the body, which helps preserve tissues and decay decomposition. However, this process can affect the body's natural
delays that
appearance.
decomposition, right?
Absolutely.
And like, what's the first thing that usually decays?
Well, I mean, right away within
We're
a
talking the
24-hour
eyes,
period,
the tongue,
the whole body starts to dehydrate.
Yeah.
And then, your eyes start to sink in, and, the body starts to get a really bad odor, and the body slowly just does what it's supposed to do, and that's to break down.
So it affects the body's natural appearance, and it also interfere with the ability to detect certain conditions, right?
Yeah. For example, embalming can make it harder to access blood vessels, fluids, or other signs of infection, preserve tissue. Despite the challenges, much of the body tissue and organs can still be examined by pathologists. So the question really was, if a person is embalmed, can they still do an autopsy?
Yeah, that's right.
That's what the question was. So it's still possible. However, the evidence would more likely be tampered with because of what we did through the embalming process and the chemicals that we put in the body that are doing what those chemicals are supposed
There's
to do.
only certain things that obviously they'll be able to test for and
Like
find out
probably
evidence.
toxicology, maybe blood analysis, but then we drain a lot of the fluids, and the fluids get contaminated with the preservatives that we're putting in.
Right. So things like trauma, disease, or other physical conditions would
Exactly.
be included?
Yeah.
Okay. What about other types of tests? Example, like toxicology and blood analysis?
So you'd be able to do toxicology still, but again, because of what we did, there's limitations.
Yeah.
So the pathologist would have limitations because the
So
body
you're not
was
taking
involved.
blood necessarily out of a vein now, you're taking it out of another region, right?
That's correct.
Yeah, because the veins have been turned into
They'd
the
be
embalming fluid.
contaminated with the fluids.
All right. And then they'll be providing limitations now,
An
right?
autopsy could still provide useful information after embalming. The results may be less,
Substantial?
yeah, that's the word.
For example, causing, death of involved, something that leaves subtle changes in blood and tissue, is that right?
That's correct, yes.
All right. Toxicology tests?
Well, toxicology test looks for drugs, alcohol, and other chemicals in the body that could be compromised.
Right.
So that's how if they find out somebody's drinking, for example, that's what they do. A report like this, and then it tells them how much alcohol they had in their fluid, what kind of drugs they had. So that's how they determine the cause of death a lot of times. So when you're waiting for autopsy results,
Yeah.
it's all timing. You know, by the time they send the toxicology reports to 3 different labs, and then they need to come back and find out the cause of death.
Because every lab does something a little different, right?
Another great show tonight, Brad.
What, are you done?
We're gonna cut it short because a lot of people are leaving.
Cut it
It's
short.
10 o'clock. 10:09. People have to go to bed. They're tired. They go to work in the morning.
Me
We're gonna have
too.
to come back to these questions next week. We really love you guys for watching the show and supporting us. Please like, share, and follow the show. Like I said, we are definitely being censored. A lot of people can't find the show. They're not getting messages saying, Ask the Funeral Director is on tonight
Yeah.
at 9 o'clock. God bless you and your families. Thank you for watching another edition of Ask the Funeral Director. Take care of yourselves and each other. And thank you to the one and only Brad Wilder.
Well, maybe. I might hit Clonate up. I'm thinking 2 of me might be better.
I'm going to be sending some of your DNA tonight.
Good night, everybody.